Did you see anything yesterday that you thought that's great news?
No, I think it was a no shocks kind of announcement. Nothing really surprised me. The one that frightened me was the corporation tax. But I'm sure as a business owner of a medium to large business, you know, you're going to have, you know, people feeling a bit sore about that.
What did you think about the 2 years? The fact that there's a bit of a cliff edge, isn't there? So, you know, he's not implementing it for a couple of years. And then from one day, you go from 19% to 25%. So for me, I would have quite liked to incremental, you know, just to sort of get used to it. So that was a bit of a shock to me. What did you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, you know, doing a couple of percent each year would be a lot better than what is it, 6%, isn't it, in 2023?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have done a couple of percent each year, I think, if it was me. But then, you know, maybe it'll just give businesses a couple of years to plan for a couple of really bad years in 2023 and 2024. You know, that's the other thing that you know, a lot of people, you know, talk about, isn't it? You know, there's lots and lots of big corporations that avoid paying corporation tax, and similarly, there's lots of very, very small self-employed people that have spent years avoiding tax by not declaring all of their turnover, etc. And you know, those guys are suffering now, aren't they? Because they're not getting they've not got the books and the records to qualify for all the grants. But yeah, the big corporations, you know, that's where, you know, I'd like to see the government, you know, making sure that people pay a fair amount of tax.
Working rules that are coming in April, which we've all known about for a long time, and obviously they were due to come in last April and then didn't. They got sort of pushed back because of COVID. How is that going to affect the construction industry? Is that going to have you know, a radical? Is it going to be a radical shift, or is it just that people have got used to that now and they're working around it?
No, I think it will be a radical shift. I mean, we're not massively affected by it because we employ our workforce, and then you know, we're a management contractor, so we employ managers and professionals, and then we subcontract to other businesses, you know, labour, plant and materials. So they're responsible for how they employ their tradesmen. But we are aware that, you know, I mean, I've got a scheme in Manchester at the minute with about 50 dry liners on one of the projects. I would imagine that other than the supervisor or the couple of supervisors that might be cards in employees, 98% of the rest of them will all be labour only subcontractors. But I think that what that does is it kind of generates a bit of a negative culture in construction. You know, we've got I can talk about this for ages, but we've got a big skills gap in construction, and we've got a big shift from when I started in the industry, and people, you had real tradesmen that really cared about what they did and took time, and were really proud of what they achieved. And what we've got now is a big shift. The majority of the tradesmen that we come across are all about paying as little tax as they can, earning as much money in as little time as they possibly can. And there's not really a lot of loyalty because they jump from employer to employer. So that selfish kind of approach to how they take home as much money as possible on each individual week, and there's very, very little loyalty, has actually damaged the industry quite a lot. You know, getting people to stay on site after 3 o'clock in the afternoon now is just really, really difficult. I often tell stories about when I was a young surveyor and I was doing the wages for construction guys on site. We had guys earning £800, £900 a week, which in the late 90s was a lot of money. And they were on price work, so they were working longer hours and doing more things, and we rewarded them accordingly. What happens now is, if you set, in my experience, and I won't say this is all, you know, in every case, but in the vast majority of cases, if we give somebody a piece of price work to do where they can earn £1,000 a week or £1,500 a week if they work really, really hard, what they'll do is they'll get to 750 quid and they'll take the tools and they'll go home at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning, which is not good for productivity. You know, the reason we bonus people on site and want them to do more and want them to work longer is because we're chasing deadlines, or we've got some pressures elsewhere in the program. So that I think the new tax rules on new employment rules, I suppose, should help that culture. I think it'll get more people buying in and becoming more loyal to their employer, rather than being a really, really selfish kind of, it's all about me and how much money I earn. The IR35 rules, I think they're a massive shift. People used to do their apprenticeships. People, a local firm that does this really, really well is Seddons. They're a Bolton-based firm, employed 500 odd people, turn over hundreds of millions of pounds, but their apprentice scheme is brilliant. And there are other kind of great examples of people who do apprenticeships really, really well. But what tends to happen is they get to the end of their apprenticeship, and then they immediately, they've spoken to other people in the industry, and they immediately want to go and become self-employed and earn the big bucks. And that's where that culture shift happens quite quickly. So I think, the government needs to push that. I think, if the government were pushing it and there were better grants available, and there wasn't the outlet for people to just abandon you after you've put a load of hard work in to get the apprenticeships done, I don't think that opportunity will be there in the future, because people will have to be employees rather than subcontractors.